before you can use the RDP client to establish a remote desktop connection to another machine, there are certain permissions that have to be configured on that machine. I want to start there and show you this. I'm on my client machine right now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the Start button, and then I'm going to select Settings. In the settings, it defaults to System Settings, where I will scroll down and you'll see there is an option here for Remote Desktop. So I'm going to click on the Remote Desktop settings. And the first thing that has to be set up is right up top here, right? Is it on? Right? If I turn that off, right? Disable Remote Desktop. If I turn that off, that means now no one could actually make a remote connection to the system. Okay, we want to go ahead and we want to leave that on. Now, besides turning that on, you'll see there's a little down arrow here. And if I click on that, there's a checkbox and it says require devices to use network level authentication to connect. And that is recommended. The only reason you would want to clear that checkbox is maybe if you were using some form of either legacy system or a non-Microsoft system possibly, who is going to go ahead and make some kind of a remote connection, you would go ahead and eliminate the need for network level authentication. But typically you do want to go ahead and authenticate the users that are connecting to the system. Now from there, down here a little bit, it says remote desktop users. And this is where you can select who is allowed to access this PC. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and click on that and a little pop-out comes up. And you'll notice that this says the users listed below can connect to this computer and any members of the administrators group can connect even if they're not listed. So by default, admins can connect. But additionally, you may notice that down below the box, it says Lieberman already has access. Lieberman is the name of the user actually on both this client machine and on the other machine that I'm going to be remoting in on, who I want to connect as. Okay, so I don't have to do anything else here. But if there was any particular users or any groups of users that I wanted to grant access to be able to do remote desktop, maybe like help desk users or something like that, you would add them here. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and cancel out of there and close this. And now that we have configured the permissions to be able to connect to this machine, let's jump over to another machine and make the connection. So here we are on the support computer. And this is my computer where I'm helping others. Okay, and I want to go ahead and make a remote desktop connection to that client machine. So what I'm going to do is there's a couple ways I'm going to show you we can do this. First of all, I'm going to click on Start, and I'm going to type in remote desktop connection. And then here I have the remote desktop connection app. What computer do I want to connect to? The name of that client computer happens to be called Training PC. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and connect to that. And you'll notice the user is Lieberman. So I'm going to go ahead and just click Connect. And it wants to know what my password is. So I'm going to go ahead and put in that password and click OK. Now, typically, very often you will get this certificate authentication warning that comes up unless your system has been configured with the certificates already in place. That's way more advanced than the scope of this course. What I can tell you for right now is just say yes to this message. It's not an issue. So I'm going to go ahead and say yes to that message. And I now have a remote connection to that training PC. And the way that I know this is because I can see training PC up at the top here, right? That's what this tab is. All right, which means everything that I'm now doing on the screen, I'm doing it on the training PC. So any configurations that I'm going to do, I'm doing it on the training PC. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click the X to close that, and that will end that session. And you'll see here now I'm back to just my regular support desktop. What I also want to show you is another way that you can connect is if you save an RDP connection as a file. Right, and I showed that in another video, how you can save it. And I have that here on my desktop where it says Demo RDP. Simply double click on that, and it takes you right into that certificate message there. So I'll hit Connect, and then my password needs to be put in. Okay, again with the certificate, yes. And I am connected. So that is how you can actually establish a remote desktop connection to a remote PC to help troubleshoot that particular machine.